project coordinator and your host for the 15th Villages Tuba Christmas. I'll remind you at this time to silence your phones if you haven't done so already. 49 years ago, Paul LaValle, conductor of the Radio City Music Hall Symphony, directed over 300 musicians at the Rockefeller Center ice rink in the first Tuba Christmas, beginning a holiday tradition that's performed in over 200 cities across the country and even abroad. In fact, my grandson, also John Bird, played his euphonium in the Washington, D.C. event this past Monday at the Kennedy Center, and we were able to view it live streaming from YouTube, just as if we were there. That's technology that we didn't even dream about just a few years ago, but that was fun. This is the fourth year that the New Life Christian Church has hosted Tuba Christmas and this beautiful new facility, thanks to Senior Minister Matt Malott and Worship Minister Mike Thomas. We thank them so much for allowing us to have the event here. This is the seventh year the Bands of the Villages has sponsored Tuba Christmas as a student outreach project. We ask local school band directors to pre-register their students with us, and we pay the registration fees and the music fees so students and their band directors can participate cost-free. That's why you see so many students on stage here today. Most of our carols are sing-alongs, and we will play each carol twice, asking you to listen the first time and then sing along on the second verse. Now, some of them are not sing-alongs, and I will try to announce those, give you a clue, so you can just kind of listen and enjoy the ensemble. I know some of you think, oh, I'm not a good singer. You don't need to be a choir member or a soloist to join in the singing along. As we say, you don't stop singing because you get old. You get old because you stop singing. While I'm giving advice, I'll offer two more bits of wisdom, possibly life-saving here. One for students. If at first you don't succeed, don't try skydiving. I think that's one for. And then here's another one, I think, for the parents and the grandparents. If your children are making fun of you for needing help with your cell phones or your purse, your PC, or your smart TV, just remind them that you taught them how to use a spoon. Just keep that in mind, right? This year we're fortunate to have as our conductor John Stranges, the new band director of the Village's New Horizons Concert Band. John's a retired school band director from Corning, New York, and for 45 years directed the Corning Area Community Band, where he implemented a unique program of having composers write works for the band and then have them attend the concert and direct the concert. It's quite a novel concept, and he has connections all through the band arranging and conducting business. So we're so grateful that John stepped up to direct this year. So please welcome to the stage Mr. John Stranges. Isn't that a beautiful sound? These next four carols are of English origin. Here we come caroling or wassailing. Bands of beggars and orphans dance their way through the snowy streets of London, singing good glad tidings in hopes the householder will give them a drink from his wassail bowl, a hearty combination of hot ale, apples, spices, and mead, just alcoholic enough to warm tingling toes and the fingers of the singers. This is not a sing-along. Next, we have Deck the Halls. It's a 16th century waltz tune set to English lyrics by a Scot in 1862. And although we think of it as a Christmas carol, there's surprisingly no mention of Christmas in the carol. It's more oriented toward a New Year song or a happy holiday song for that time of the year. In England, in Old English, the Yule. Here we have Deck the Halls. Next, we have God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. It was one of the most famous and much loved of the early carols, written with an upbeat melody and speaking of the birth of Jesus in joyful terms. The song may have shocked early church leaders, but it charmed their flocks. Not only did they sing to this carol, but they danced to it also. First Noel is one of the oldest Christmas ballads still sung today. Though it first appeared in print in 1833, the song goes back at least 300 years prior to that. In England, the First Noel was sung each year by many peasants as they lit the Yule log. Therefore, this became the song that started the entire Christmas season. Especially for children, this carol meant the beginning of the most wonderful time of the year. I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day is based on the poem Christmas Bells, written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in 1863 upon learning his son had been wounded in the Civil War. 9 years later, English organist John Calkin set the poem to a melody known as Waltham, which is the tune we're playing today. I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. Next one is Joy to the World. In 1719, English minister Isaac Watts was inspired by Psalm 98 to write the lyrics to the carol Joy to the World. But it wasn't until 1839 that Presbyterian church organist and choir director Lowell Mason linked the melody he had written to Watts' lyrics. It's one of the most published Christmas hymns in North America, and that's when it was born. next carol is We Three Kings. John Hopkins Jr., rector of Christ Episcopal Church in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, wrote this 1857 carol as a gift to a niece and nephew to perform in their upcoming appearance in a New York City Christmas pageant. We Three Kings. In 1865, Philip Brooks, the Episcopal rector of the Church of the Holy Trinity in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, took a sabbatical leave to the Holy Land and visited Bethlehem. On Christmas Eve, 3 years later, that visit inspired the Reverend to write a poem, and he asked organist Louis Redner to compose a tune to the poem for the Christmas service. Redner claimed he worked for hours, but fell asleep believing he had failed. The tune came to him in a dream, and on Christmas morning, O little town of Bethlehem was born. In 1849, Edmund Sears, pastor of the Unitarian Church in Wayland, Massachusetts, published a poem entitled "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear" in the Christian Register, a periodical at the time. The next year, composer Richard Storrs Willis discovered the poem and that it perfectly fit a tune he previously composed, simply entitled "Carol." Willis published the pairing with the uninspired title, Study Number 23. A decade later, he republished a new arrangement of the popular carol we sing today, "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." Since there is no biblical reference to support that the angels announcing the birth of Christ did any singing. Nevertheless, in 1855, William Cummings adapted those lyrics to music borrowed from a Mendelssohn cantata, first printed in the 1857 Methodist hymnal. It became one of the most recognized carols of the world. Hark the herald angels sing. ensemble a little break here while we do a little interlude, and our conductor can step down from the podium if he likes. And what we're going to do is introduce some of the individual instruments so you can hear them as they're played by themselves. And I wanted to start, it seems like the euphoniums never seem to get the respect that they need. So I'm going to read some dictionary definitions here and see what you think of these. Now here's the standard definition of a euphonium. The euphonium is a large conical bored countervoiced brass instrument that derives its name from the ancient Greek word euphonous, meaning well-sounding or sweet-voiced. But I like the Urban Dictionary versions, and I always like them because after they give a straight one, they kind of get in italics. They give a sort of a tongue-in-cheek version. So Urban Dictionary says, the euphonium is a large 3 or 4-valve brass instrument resembling a small tuba. It is similar to the baritone horn, but while the baritone has a cylindrical or straight bore or tubing, the euphonium has a conical bore that grows larger as it progresses toward the bell, warming up the sound of the horn. In italics, though, it says, the euphonium has a dark, rich sound, except when too much garbage has been dropped down the bell. You students don't know anything about that, do you? Probably not. Their second definition, which is the one I kind of like here too, a low brass instrument with 3 or 4 valves that can be played in treble or bass clef. Hardly anybody knows what it is, so euphonium players often get tired of explaining it. They are usually the least ignorant section of the brass and the smallest and most talented section in the band. For example, the band director says, "Can someone please explain the coda to the trombones?" And all the euphoniums raise their hand. We can do it. So that's the euphonium section. I had some volunteers. I had to twist some arms here, but we're going to give you a little sampling of what some of the horns sound like. And first we have Elizabeth from Florida State. Is it Elizabeth? Yeah, okay. We're just going to ask them to play their B-flat scale kind of up and down. Elizabeth has a compensating euphonium, and she doesn't get paid more for that. Compensating euphoniums have some extra tubing and a 4th valve, which enables them to play all the notes in the scales in tune. A 3-valve instrument has problems with that because when the 1 and 3 valve combination and the 1, 2, and 3 are played, it plays very sharp, so to the point almost where you really can't make it play in tune. So if Elizabeth is going to give us the sound of a compensating euphonium. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, see now Roger has volunteered. Roger has what we call the American baritone. It's a little bit, this is a hybrid, and this is why there's this confusion. In the British brass band tradition, a baritone horn is pretty much cylindrical, has a fairly narrow tubing, and the bell is smaller and it points straight up. When the American manufacturers started manufacturing there, they said, well, we can't call it a euphonium, it's Greek or some strange language. We're going to call it a baritone, and we're going to make it a smaller bore instrument than a euphonium, but it's going to be conical, and the bell is going to be a little smaller, but it's going to be facing forward, and the valves are going to face forward instead of vertical. So it was a hybrid, and band directors often will refer to their sections as baritones, even though most of them are euphoniums. So here is the American baritone. Roger. Very nice, very nice. And it's really a similar sound. Now I have the really oddball instrument here, and my lip isn't warmed up, but I don't know if you can see that. My beagle used to hate my trumpet. She liked the baritone, so this is Snoopy on my baritone here. And this is a fiberglass euphonium. And you say, what the advantage? Well, the advantage is they cost about a third of what a metal one does. And it's about a third or maybe even less weight to carry. So if you're marching with it, or if you have to sling it back and forth on a school bus, but it does have a, well, maybe a muddy sound. Let's see what you think. See how badly I play it. This, by the way, this is a compensating euphonium. You run about $500. A compensating euphonium can run anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. You can save a little on this. It's going to be what most of you think of as a tuba. Everybody says, oh, you play tuba. And it's that big guy up there with that big decorated horn there. And of course, that's just one kind of tuba, the sousaphone, that was invented, designed by John Philip Sousa. The early double B-flat tubas that were in the military bands, actually the horn bell pointed backwards. And that didn't make any sense to Sousa. He said, I want them to hear my band coming down the street. So he invented this. Not only is it much easier to carry because it rests on your shoulder, but it does give you that forward sound. So we have Cordell is going to play the sousaphone. Cordell? Isn't that nice? I love to hear that marching down the street. Now that's a double B-flat tuba, which is the standard tuba that we have. And we'll play that later, but they come in some different keys, and we had the good fortune to have Don Brannon here with his E-flat tuba. You might want to, well, see if you can tell any difference between an E-flat and a double B-flat tuba. Don? This is a compensating E-flat too. He doesn't get any more money though. Very good, yes. You can see the forward sousaphone really kind of shouts out at you, doesn't it? We have Zachary here has the standard double B-flat tuba. His is a fancy one. It's a rotary valve. Most of the instruments you'll see up here are piston valve. The rotary valve has the advantage, it has a much shorter throw for your fingers, so you can play more rapidly, a little easier. The disadvantage is that if you have trouble with the valve, if it hangs up on your head, it almost takes a repairman to work on it, where piston valves are much more rugged. You can clean them off and you can get them buffed up and there's not really a problem. But Zach, you would want to give us a little double B-flat tube. Okay, and there's a double B-flat tuba. So that's pretty much, we have some various horns up here. It's hard to cover them all, but that kind of covers it. And you guys all rested up? You ready to start again here? Okay, so please welcome back to the stage John Strange as our conductor. Did I turn this off? Or no, here I am. Okay. Away in the Manger. Although long claimed to be the work of religious reformer Martin Luther, this carol is now thought to be wholly American in origin, properly created by hymn writer James Murray in 1887. Good Christian Men Rejoice. This carol was probably the oldest one we have, written in 1328 by a German Dominican monk, Heinrich Suso, making this one of the oldest carols. In 1853, Church of England priest and hymn writer James Mason Neale's English translation was published. Surprisingly, both priests were shunned by the church leadership. They were thought to be radical thinkers of their time. Angels We Have Heard on High is the next familiar carol we'll be doing. The writer of this carol remains a mystery. First published in an 1855 songbook, Catholic Bishop James Chadwick created this England version in 1862. Finally have a 20th century carol, and of course Ukraine has been in the news a lot this past year, and this was written by a Ukrainian, Mykola Leontovich, with lyrics by Peter Wiltowski, and was published in 1914. It's not a sing-along, but Carol of the Bells. Please enjoy that. singing along to this carol, next carol either. What Child Is This is a Christmas carol with lyrics written by William Chatterton Dix in 1865. But 6 years later, it was set to the tune of Greensleeves, a traditional English folk song. Although written in Great Britain, the carol today is more popular in the United States than in its country of origin. This is What Child Is This? Slam, Greensleeves. Secular Christmas song that we know of, Jingle Bells, was originally a drinking song at the Simpson Tavern in Medford, Massachusetts. It was copyrighted in 1857 as the one-horse open sleigh. Now you all know the lyrics, but don't be confused by this version, which has a little of Sousa's national emblem mark snuck in, which is sort of an arranger's tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. This next one is sort of interesting. It's really not a sing-along, but you know, hey, if you can do it, get into it. It's called Jingle Bell Rock Around the Clock. Ranger Van Eck did this for the Jacksonville Tuba Christmas people, and they sent it on to us. We thought it was such a fun. He combined the 1957 Bobby's Helms hit, Jingle Bell Rock, with Bill Haley's 1954 hit, Rock Around the Clock, to come up with this fun rock and roll number for Tuba Christmas. Kind of fun, huh? Well, our last real carol of the night, we like to end with Silent Night. This most performed Christmas carol was born of a dilemma and possibly a divine miracle. Christmas Eve, 1818, in the village of Oberndorf, Austria, assistant Catholic priest of St. Nicholas Church, Joseph Moore, was distraught. The music he planned for the midnight service could not be performed because the church organ was kaput. He found a simple poem he penned 2 years before, entitled Stille Nacht. He tramped through the snow to school teacher and church organist Franz Gruber, asking him to compose a simple tune the priest could play on a guitar and teach the small church choir in their upcoming rehearsal. A few hours later, Gruber and Moore met at the church, and Silent Night was born in time for the service. The English lyrics we know are by Episcopal priest John Young. Please listen and join with us as we repeat this favorite hymn. join us as we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Greetings, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for coming. Drive safely home. Have a great Christmas and great holidays. Thank you all.